Hi there, if you're a fan of K-pop or J-pop, you'll know the girl group Twice. Recently, Mina from Twice learned to crochet so she could make a present for a friend. Today, I'm going to show you how to make the cute strawberry bag that Mina made. For this project, I'm using milk cotton yarn, which is a worsted weight yarn, 100 grams of pale yellow and 50 grams of mauve, red, green and blue, a 4.5mm crochet hook, a pair of scissors and a yarn needle. Now, I purchased my milk cotton yarn through eBay or AliExpress, but you could use other worsted weight yarn that you have available to you, and I'll leave some suggestions in the description below of different yarns that you might be able to use. For the tutorial, I'm using a 4.5mm crochet hook, but you could use a 4 or a 5mm hook. I watched Mina's blog to make sure that I could match her crochet pouch as closely as possible. Let's take a quick look at it before we start the project. It has a drawstring, opens up nice and wide for a good size for storage, and has this really cute little sort of frilly top on it. Mina also made a longer drawstring for her pouch, so her friend could use it as a shoulder bag. So I'll show you how to do that as well. We'll start by making the bottom part of the bag first. So grab your pale yellow yarn, create a slip knot, place it onto your crochet hook, and chain 27 stitches. If you're new to crocheting and you need some help on how to create a slip knot, how to chain, how to create any of the stitches involved in this pattern, please check out my channel where I have tutorials for all the basic stitches. When you finish creating your 27 chains, you'll get an idea as to how large your pouch is going to be when it's finished. It's going to be a little wider than your 27 chains. Now, this project mostly works in double crochet stitch, and we're going to work our first double crochets into the third chain from our hook. So count down 3 chains, yarn over your hook, insert your hook into that third chain, pull up a loop of yarn, pull it through, yarn over, through the first two loops on your hook, yarn over, and through the remaining 2 loops on your hook. So that's our first double crochet. We're going to put another 2 in the very same place. So we're going for our second, through 2 and through the last 2 loops, and 1 more double crochet. So we have our starting couple of chains and then 3 double crochets that we put into that same spot. Now I want you to double crochet all the way along the chain, 23 double crochets, which will give you 1 chain stitch at the end that we will do something a bit different with. So each chain we're putting in a double crochet. With this tutorial, I have sped up some portions and cut some of the video as well, just to make it a little easier to watch. But feel free to pause the video at any time, or you can also speed up or slow down the tutorial in YouTube if that helps you. After you've created your 23 double crochets along the chain, we have the one last chain stitch left. Create 3 double crochet stitches in that one chain stitch, just like we did in the beginning. When you've done that, turn your work and we're going to crochet along the other side of the chain. In the very same space that we just created our 3 double crochets, I want you to create another 3 double crochets. Now working on the other side of the chain, I want you to put in 23 double crochets along the back, and we're going to work over our yarn tail that we started with. So by putting your hook through the stitch and making sure that that tail is over the top of the hook when you create your next double crochet, you'll be tucking in your yarn tail, which means you won't have to sew that in later on. You can see how much neater that is, and it's going to save you some time. So where you can, work over yarn tails. It's a really good way of being able to minimize how much sewing in you have at the end of your project. I work hard, but I really enjoy creating new patterns and tutorials to share on YouTube. If you're getting something from this tutorial, I would really appreciate you hitting that like button and consider subscribing. It's a free way you can support my channel and I would really appreciate it. You can trim off any excess yarn tail that may be sticking out from your 23 stitches. Now we're going to create 3 double crochets in the very last stitch space. And that completes the first round of your pouch. Yeah, it looks good. To start our second round, we're going to double crochet into the top of the very first double crochet that we created. So not the chains that were at the beginning of our row or our round. We want to go into the very top of the first double crochet. So create 1 double crochet. And place a stitch marker if you have one available. If you don't, you could use a piece of yarn, and I'll show you how to do that. You could use a bobby pin, a safety pin, or even a paper clip, just to mark your first stitch so that you know the beginning of your round. And on to round 2. 1 double crochet into each stitch around. So a nice easy round. And at the end of round 2, you should have 59 double crochet stitches. At the end of round 2, work 1 extra double crochet in the next stitch. So just 1 into that next stitch. And we're going to make that the end of our second round. So we're just moving 1 stitch across basically. So 2 more rounds to go before we start the strawberries. Rounds 3 and 4 will be double crochet around 59 stitches. Remember, we just created 1 more double crochet to complete round 2. So putting in that stitch marker in the correct position. And I'll see you back after round 4. For round 5, we're going to start creating our strawberries. Now there's 5 strawberries on each side. This is the trickiest round of this particular project, but I know you can do it. There are 4 double crochets between each strawberry, and each strawberry is created on top of 1 double crochet. We're also going to be working over our red and green yarn, just like Mina did. The middle strawberries should be centered, and if you followed along this tutorial and you haven't missed a stitch so far, this will work out perfect with the count that I have. So for round 5, we're going to create 5 double crochet stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Replace your stitch marker at the beginning of that round. So the next stitch is where we'll put our first strawberry. Now you could add some stitch markers or yarn or something else just as a marker as to where your strawberries go. Remember, there are 4 double crochet stitches between each of the strawberries. So it'll be 4, and then on the 5th one will be a strawberry, another 4, then the 5th one will be a strawberry. But if you have followed this tutorial, you don't need to put any stitch markers in because the count should work out perfect for you. To start your first strawberry, we're going to have to add the red yarn to our yellow. So I want you to undo the last double crochet stitch that you created. Then recreate the double crochet, but right down to the very last step where there's just 2 loops on your hook. And we're going to pull through the red yarn through the last 2 loops. Now this is the most seamless way of colour changing when you're crocheting. So we've created the yellow double crochet, but we ended up with red on our hook, which is ready to create our strawberry. To make your first strawberry, you want to create 5 double crochets in the next stitch space with the red. So yarn over and into that stitch space, pull through a loop, through 2, through 2, and we're going to repeat that another 4 times, so you end up with 5 double crochets all in that one stitch. That's 2, 3, 4, and the last double crochet in the red. Pull up the loop that's on your hook, and we're going to insert the hook into the top of that very first red stitch. Then place the loop that you've just pulled out over your hook and pull that loop through the stitch. So you've created your first red section of the strawberry. Now we're going to pull through the green yarn just through that loop on our hook. Now to create the calyx or the green part of the strawberry, you're going to insert the hook between each of the red double crochets you created and pull up a loop of yarn. So into the back, picking up that yarn and pulling it through each one of those red double crochets, even that last one, which gets a little bit tricky to get through to, and pull that through, and you should have 5 green loops of yarn on your hook. Yarn over and pull that loop all the way through those 5 loops on your hook. And like, ooh, ah, you've just created your first strawberry. To change your green yarn over to the yellow, pull the yellow yarn through the green loop on your hook. Now we're going to create 4 double crochets across the next 4 stitches, but we're going to work in over our red and green yarn so that we can work across to use that yarn for the next strawberry. So not the tail, but the actual yarn itself. So that's 2. Three, and on the very 4th double crochet of yellow, on that last step, we're going to pull through our red yarn again. So just through the last 2 loops on our hook so that we're ready to create our next strawberry. So we're going to repeat this process as we did with the first strawberry, 5 double crochets into that next stitch. And 5. Pull up the loop. Insert your hook under that first red stitch. Put the loop on your hook and pull that through. Now we're changing over to our green for our calyx, pulling it through the loop on our hook. Now between each of the 5 red stitches, we're pulling up a loop of green through to the back, pulling it through. So that's 1, 2, 3, and the very last one, the tricky one, plus the loop we already had on our hook is 5 loops, yarn over and pulling that through all 5 loops on your hook. Changing over to our yellow and repeating the process of 4 double crochets into the next 4 stitches, working over our red and green yarn and bringing it over, ready to work on the next strawberry. I've put the pattern up on the top left hand corner of the screen for you to follow. So basically you're going to be creating 5 strawberries with 4 yellow double crochets in between. So I'll see you back after you've created that first row of strawberries. Enjoying this tutorial so far? I hope you are. If you are, please hit that like button and consider subscribing for some more really fun creative craft content. When you finish creating your 5th strawberry, you can cut the red and green yarn. Now it's up to you. You could carry this around to the other side. I found it looks a little nicer if you cut the yarn and then start again for the row of strawberries on the other side. Create 8 double crochets in the yellow yarn. Remember to add your red to the very last step of that 8th double crochet, ready to create your next strawberry. Your next row of strawberries should match up perfectly with the first row. Remember, we're pulling through the new red through that last step of the 8th double crochet in the yellow, and starting again, we're creating the strawberry with 5 red double crochet stitches into the one space. I put the pattern up on the top left hand side of the screen. So it'll be strawberry, then 4 double crochets of the yellow, strawberry, until you get to the other end with the 5th strawberry, and that should give you 4 double crochets in the yellow to complete that round. So bringing through the green, change to yellow, and of course we're going to be working over our yarn as we go. When you've finished creating your 5 strawberries, you can cut the red and green yarn and change to the yellow and complete that round with 4 double crochets. As far as finishing off those yarn tails, you could simply tie them together like I've done here with the red to red, green to green, and then trim off the excess. However, it looks a lot neater if you thread each of the tails onto a yarn needle and just weave them in and out of the back of the strawberry, making sure that your stitches don't come through to the front of the strawberry. So you're just going to weave them through the stitches and then trim off any excess. But it's totally up to you as to how you'd like to finish off those yarn tails. And on to creating the last 4 double crochets for that round. Just in the yellow, 3 and 4. Now round 6 is 5 double crochets. So we're starting with 5. That's 2, 3, 4 and 5. And when we get to the strawberry, we're going to create 2 double crochets that are combined into 1 stitch. And this is going to bring the width of the strawberry back down to the width of 1 stitch. So yarn over, insert the hook into the top red stitch of your strawberry. Yarn over, pull it through. Yarn over and through 2 loops, as you would normally. But keep those 2 loops on your hook, yarn over and through the big gap on the left hand side of the strawberry. Place your hook through there, pick up the yarn, pull it through 2 loops, yarn over and through the remaining 3 loops on your hook. So you can see how it looks like it's 2 double crochets by themselves, but it only comes to the top section creating 1 double crochet. So 4 double crochets along, and we're going to repeat that same stitch at the next strawberry. Okay, I'll talk you through this again. So yarn over, insert your hook under the top red stitch of your strawberry. Yarn over, pull it through, yarn over through 2 loops on your hook. Yarn over and through that big gap on the left hand side of the strawberry. Yarn over, pull it through, yarn over through 2 loops, yarn over through all 3 loops. So you're going to continue this all the way around for round 6, which will be just a double crochet wherever there is a double crochet and a 2 double crochet combined for each strawberry. And we'll take another quick look at this joining of 2 double crochets through 2 loops, through 2 and through 3. So I'll see you at the end of round 6. Okay, at the end of round 6, we can have a look at how well that 2 double crochets into 1 has worked around our strawberries. Place your stitch marker and it's on to some really easy crocheting from here. So for rounds 7 right through to round 18, you want to double crochet a round, which will give you 59 stitches per round. And remember to put your stitch marker in at the end of each round. I'll see you back after you have completed round 18. If you love crocheting or creative fun project tutorials and you've got an idea that you would like me to create either a tutorial for or a pattern for, please comment. I would love to hear from you. At the end of round 18, we're going to create 6 more stitches. So this will actually reduce the angling of the top part of the pouch and take your crocheting over to the side. So we'll start by creating 3 half double crochets, which is yarn over, hook through the stitch, pulling up a loop, yarn over and through all 3 loops on your hook. Yarn over, through the stitch, pulling through a loop, yarn over and through all 3 loops on your hook, and one more through all 3 loops. Now on to creating 3 single crochets. So hook through the stitch, pulling up a loop, yarn over and through 2 loops on your hook. Hook through, yarn over and through 2 loops. Now you can see how that straightens the top part of your pouch, and it will take that crochet over to the right hand side of your project, ready to create that ruffled top. To change our yarn from the yellow over to the mauve, we're going to undo that last single crochet and redo it, pulling through the mauve on the last step. Chain 1 in the mauve, and now we're going to work our first round, which is single crochet round, but we're going to work around those 2 yarn tails, so the finishing yellow tail and the start mauve tail. So you're going to create 29 single crochets around, tucking in those tails, and then you'll work 2 single crochets in the same stitch. So that's an increase, and then another 29 single crochets. So the reason we're going to do an increase at the side is just to take our stitches up to a nice even 60, and that will help us with the next 3 rounds that we're working on. Now, if you're new to crocheting, an increase is simply just 2 stitches in the same stitch space. If you're enjoying this tutorial so far, don't forget to hit that like button. I'd really appreciate your support. After you've completed your last single crochet, you want to slip stitch to the top of the first single crochet in that round. So not the chain, but the top of the first single crochet. And only 3 rounds to go, but we'll have a quick look at the project before we continue. So you can see here with the increases, they form a row of V's, and they will all line up on top of each other. So with that in mind, chain 2 and work your very first double crochet stitch in the same stitch space as your chains. So that's our first double crochet, and you're going to create another one. And now an increase. So remember, an increase is just 2 stitches in the same stitch space. So that's 2 double crochets. Disregarding the first chain we created, it's 2 double crochets and an increase. And you're going to repeat that so that there's 20 sets of those right around the top. So that's 2 double crochets and an increase. And I'll see you back after you've completed the second top round. And at the end of top round 2, you'll slip stitch to the top of the first double crochet stitch that you created. And then chain 2. Now for round 3 at the top, you're going to create 3 double crochets and then an increase. That's 2, 3, and now an increase. And if you look closely, you can see the V of the increase on the previous row, so you know that they line up, you're in the right place. So 3 double crochets, 1, 2, and 3, and then an increase. So you'll repeat this 3 double crochets and an increase 20 times right around for round 3 of the top. At the end of round 3 of the top, we're going to slip stitch to the top of the first double crochet you created. Slip stitch and then chain 2 to start. Now this is our final round, and we're going to be creating 4 double crochets. That's 1, 2, 3, and 4. You can see the V stitch of the increase from the last round. We're going to create 2 double crochets, so an increase, and then chain 1 stitch, and then put another increase in the very same stitch space. Now let's have a look at that. You can see how that brings it to a cute sort of little point, soft point. So you're going to repeat that pattern all the way around. So it's 4 double crochet stitches. And I'll just talk you through this again. Where the increase is, we're going to put an increase, then chain 1, then put another increase in the same stitch space, then continue. So you're going to be repeating that pattern of 4 double crochets and an increase, chain 1 increase, all the way around 20 times, which gives you a total of 160 stitches. And I'll see you back here after the end of this round. At the end of round 4 of the top, you can trim your yarn with a long enough tail to sew in later on. Pull the tail through the loop on your hook. We're going to join this seamlessly to the first double crochet we created in the round. So insert your hook under the top 2 loops of that first double crochet. Hook onto your tail yarn and pull it under those 2 loops. Now insert your hook through the middle of that last double crochet and pull the tail through the middle. You should see that the top edge is a seamless finish. And just to finish that off completely, thread the tail onto a yarn needle and stitch the tail in and out of the stitches, making sure that you can't see it from the very front part of your crochet as well. Back and forth a couple of times and trim off any excess yarn. Now one last step, and that is to create the drawstring for your pouch. Now you can create one like I've just showing here, which is just a simple drawstring for the pouch, or you can make a longer version like Mina did for her friend, which was so that she could make this pouch into a shoulder bag. For the short drawstring, you want to create a length of chain that's approximately 3 times the width of your finished pouch. So I've worked that out to be roughly 110 chain stitches. To do this, create a slip knot, place it on your hook using the blue yarn and chain 110 stitches. To create the longer length drawstring for the shoulder bag, chain a length approximately 6 times the width of your bag, and that's about 120 chain stitches. When you're finished, trim your yarn and pull the yarn through the very last loop you have on your hook. To thread through your drawstring, you want to find the very middle V on your bag. So looking at the purple frill top, locate the V that's right in the middle of the bag and count 2 stitches to the left. Bring through one end of the drawstring and then you'll weave through the rest of the drawstring 3 stitches apart. Now this is all on the very top row of your yellow. So working right around 3 stitches apart, just weaving it in and out. And if you've made the longer drawstring, you'll be weaving it in and out in exactly the same way as we're doing it for the shorter one. And when you've finished weaving in your drawstring, you can pull on the ends of the yarn gently and then trim off any excess. All that's left now is to tie it into a bow. And the long drawstring on the pouch looks like this. It's long enough to put over your shoulder and still be able to open and close the bag while you're wearing it. Just the right size for all those special things. I think Mina did a fantastic job, especially for her very first crochet project. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. I really enjoyed making it. If you did enjoy it, please give this video a like and consider subscribing for some more really fun creative craft content. I would love to have you join me for my next project. So take care, thanks again for being here, and stay awesome.